You're entering Corsi Nation.
This is Jerome Corsi, and today it is Thursday, November 6th, 2025. First story, it's important today, I think, is that Donald Trump is now doing an executive order on election security and integrity. That was announced really officially yesterday. I've been saying it for some time, letting you know that it was in the works. And I was briefed on that a long time ago. This was going to be on a second executive order coming down, which is going to get more specifically demanding that various things that we have voter ID, proof of citizenship, all the things that, will make the elections fair again and give it a chance to have real elections rather than these rigged contests the Democrats are staging. Here's the article. Of course, you can show it. It was on Gateway Pundit. It's across the internet today, and Trump has announced it. I believe I have a copy of the revised version. I had the original version. But again, the executive order is going to demand that there be voter ID, proof of citizenship. Non-citizens are not going to vote. The ending this general mail-in voting, which is a complete scam, designed in order to steal elections by the algorithms, which in God's Five Stones we have shown that with Andrew Paquette's work are in the state election, board of election databases, the voter registration databases, these codes that permit them to create false votes and hide them in the database, but giving them legitimate state ID numbers so that they can be used in mail-in ballot fraud. So also, you're going to have, I think, the two things that triggered this was on November 4th, the California voters approved Proposition 50. This was a ballot measure that championed by Governor Newsom and state Democrats that allows lawmakers to temporarily bypass the state's nonpartisan redistricting commission to redraw congressional maps. So they basically are saying that the Democrats want to just redraw the maps the way the Democrats want them redrawn, and they'll just give themselves 5 or 6 more seats and cut out seats for the Republicans by gerrymandering to get districts packed with their voters. Now, Trump saw that, and he saw Mandami win in New York, and Trump realized, okay, that the Democrats are not going to come around to do fair electioning. The Mandami had, I think, 500,000 mail-in ballots, which was twice as many as his Republican opponent. And undoubtedly, they went overwhelmingly for Mandami. Mandami also appealed to the younger women voters. If he had looked like some of the other candidates who are running, he probably wouldn't have gotten the women voting for him. But the looks, the hip-hop, the younger women who trained in these leftist universities coming out with the ideas of social justice in their heads vote for Mandami. He is an Islamic communist. And what they're going to get is a city that's destroyed. They're going to get a city where the businesses close up and leave, reducing the tax base of New York City. A city overwhelmed by more homelessness, by illegal immigrants, which Mandami will undoubtedly seek to protect. And Mandami's reached out to Jews. Well, that's nice window dressing, but he's solidly in support of Hamas and the Palestinian movement. So again, we have another candidate here who comes on looking like Obama looked in 2008 with, hope and change and, all the posters and all the hip hop and all the cool advertising done for Obama, making him look like the second coming of Jesus Christ. The waters were going to part, the earth was going to be healed, we weren't going to have any global warming, everything was going to be fine. We're going to have the fundamental transformation of America. Well, we certainly had that, moving it in the communist direction, moving it to where I said that there was going to be much more racial conflict, which there is today as a result of Obama, more divisions. The middle class would be very, very muchly reduced. All these things have happened. And now we look back on Obama. Obama's trying to resurface himself, come back into some kind of vogue again, but he's got nowhere to go. So Trump is going to, and Chris, if you'll show God's five stones, because this is a direct result of the work we've done, and we're going to continue to raise money in order to advance this cause all the way through until these election reforms get put into place. And we're also looking at Act Blue. We're looking at the corruption, the money corruption, Obama coup corruption. I'm going to cover that in a second. But the point is, we're finding overall that the system is rotten to the core. The amount of money sloshing around, the amount of money that's buying off politicians, and including GOP, is unconscionable. I've got reports from the Department of Justice that Act Blue alone, for about 6 years, didn't file any financial reports on money laundering. And at that time, the bank was transacting trillions of dollars worth of business. Well, how much of that was child sex trade? Now, you can't run the child sex trade or the child organ harvesting or the drug deals or fentanyl without the CIA being involved. And you can't do it without the cooperation of banks. We can't drive around with a semi-truck full of $100 bills. So when you take a look at what we're seeing here, we're seeing that gods5stones.com was accurate in saying our work was the basis for understanding that the election fraud starts in the Board of Elections. And it starts with an intent to create false voters that can yet vote and be counted. That's the key. It isn't enough just to create false voters. They have to be able to be voted and counted. That was the brilliance of this devious scheme that the Democrats concocted. They did it by the ability to create double records, or with minor modifications, and all these duplicates, millions of duplicates of false voters in the voter rolls are hard to detect. But once they're detected, you can see that they are given legitimate state IDs and that they do vote, even though they don't exist. Now, how is that possible? It's possible through the mail-in ballot schemes. The coup d'etat of Obama, there's a very good article on the Gateway Pundit today, and I want to point that out. I'm going to give it to Chris here to put up on the screen. That's an extremely good article, and it was very well researched. And here it is. What it shows is that Tulsi Gabbard is getting down to the bottom of how this Russian collusion case started. And she's now got it down to where in 2016, in December, Obama ordered James Clapper, head of the Director of National Intelligence, and CIA Director John Brennan, to change the intelligence community assessment that said Russia did not interfere in the election and make it that Russia did interfere in the presidential election to help Trump. Now, one of the key figures in this was an intelligence analyst named Chiara Mella. And for those who remember that name, I was talking about Chiara Mella during the Ukrainian impeachment of Donald Trump, which stemmed from the fact that Chiara Mella said that Donald Trump, in talking to Zelensky by phone, asked Zelensky to produce dirt on a bribery on his political opponent, Biden, going into the 2020 election. Okay, now, again, Donald Trump he was impeached in that he was tried in the Senate, but the trial was not successful. Donald Trump was not removed from office. But now, as we get into this, we're beginning to see how corrupt the Department of Justice was, covering up with inspector generals, changing rules, and Tulsi Gabbard is getting to the bottom of it. Now, there's going to be indictments resulting from this. Excuse me, I woke up this morning with a bit of a cold. Weather's changing here in New Jersey, and so it's getting to be now fall and a little chillier. We're coming out of summer. At any rate, the point is that all this is unraveling behind the scenes. And Donald Trump is getting ready to fundamentally change the 2026 election so that they will be fair and legitimate. The Democrats' heads are going to explode. Democrats are going to go insane. Of course, they are already insane. The point is the Democrats are finally realizing that unless they run these extreme candidates, they don't have a chance. And if they're going to run Mandami, Islamic radical borderline terrorists for office, the Democratic Party has gone completely bankrupt. And the Democratic Party, I think, is down a path where the American people will part ways with it. The Democratic Party is in the process of committing suicide, and it can't do it fast enough to please me. If what you're seeing here today is that this hidden transcript of the Inspector General, Intelligence Community Special Director Michael Atkinson, is now getting revealed by Tulsi Gabbard. And it's the key to revealing how the CIA targeting of President Trump happened. And it happened within the CIA. It happened in Obama and Hillary's heads. We went through all this horror show of Russian collusion, including wanting to put me in prison because they thought I had a tie to Julian Assange. I mean, I've told this story numerous times here on this show. But the point is that it's unraveling for the Democrats. And Chris, I want you to come on and comment on this because I think that, people are overreacting to the election saying, oh, look at the Democrats are very strong. No, the Democrats are running radical candidates in elections they can steal. And that's the bottom line story.
What story, though? If you really think about it, deep down, navy blue districts, deep blue districts voted for liberals and far left candidates. That's not even a story anymore. Your liberal friends might be on social media patting themselves on the back and bragging about the blue wave, but honestly, these elections were pretty much predictable before they started.
Right. And the amount of money that Soros pumped into Mandami, literally millions of dollars to promote his career and to get him prepped for this. The Democrats are willing to take all this dark money, which I'm convinced they get through illegal activity, and pump it through the banks into their NGOs and ultimately into their candidates.
What you have to do is, if you're in a city, and it's a city that's kind of downwardly spiraling anyway, one way or another, crime all over the place, businesses are having some trouble staying there, people are moving out because they can't afford anything, prices are extremely high, there are other issues involved, but a mayor gets so much money from outside his or its district, if you will, and it comes from Hollywood. It comes from the Soros found various Soros dark money.
If you're a Democrat, if you're a Democrat,
but that's what I'm saying. Generally, these blue cities are run by Democrats,
right?
But the fact is, if you're a voter, you got to look at these things and say, why is the money coming from outside? And when they're mayor, invariably, these people don't really care about the infrastructure. They don't care about policing of crime. They don't care about running a city. They care more about chasing a national and, at this point, global social agenda.
They're ideologically driven.
Right. So the money's come from outside your district, your municipality, wherever you're running in. That's who you're voting for. You're voting for a national, social, or global social agenda, not for somebody to run your city properly.
That's right. And the cities, as a result, are deteriorating.
Yes.
And again, we're living in an unreality of that. This is normal politics. This is not normal politics at all. This is extreme politics, what extreme politics look like. And that's where I constantly emphasize, please read that book I wrote on the truth about neo-Marxism, cultural Maoism, and anarchy, because we're at the anarchy stage now with the Democratic Party. They've become a completely rogue, outlaw, criminal party that is pursuing treason. They wanted to remove a sitting president that was duly elected, Donald Trump, in 2016. They wanted to make sure he was out of office, impeached, so he couldn't run again in 2020, or he would, they wanted to do anything possible, including stealing the votes, including concocting this J6 event. The entire nature of the politics we're seeing on the Democrats is an engineered reality in which they are the stars in their own minds. But all they're doing is destroying America with complete idiocy, where boys are girls and girls are boys, and sex change operations can fix all that. I mean, Chris, it really is pretty insane.
Well, there's a superficial level to electing these people too. You touched on it earlier this program, whereas Zoran Memdani is what one would call Democrat handsome. He's a minority, well-spoken, has nice bro-creamed hair, smiles, and says whatever people want to hear, much like Barack Obama. He's sort of like a messiah complex, if you will, where people look at him like, oh, we have to have somebody we're looking up to, somebody who's handsome and cute. And it doesn't matter how far to the left they are. And I contend Zoran Mandani would have lost to Andrew Cuomo probably in the primary if he had looked like Omar Fateh, who was
Yeah,
more
right.
radical and wild. And I'm not making fun of Fateh's looks or anything, but
No,
Fateh is a darker skinned minority who generally do not get a lot of votes, maybe outside of Chicago. But then again, Brandon Johnson uh, was even seen as a more sane alternative to lightweight. You know, mayor before Mayor Lightfoot before that. So
right.
that's an anomaly. But he's more wild-eyed. He's more radical looking, but he's not handsome. He's not conventionally handsome like a polished politician. So he would never have won in a place like New York City.
Well, he didn't win in Minneapolis either.
No, no. As a matter of fact, well, look, Mayor Jacob Gray is as woke as can be. This guy, as we know, he's the guy that kissed the grave
George
of George
Floyd.
Floyd,
The-
and
the- the-
he tries his best to be woke. He was so busy worried about insults to the transgender community after that uh, Minnesota Minnesota church shooting. It was absolutely he's an embarrassment. But this guy couldn't beat him. Oh, and by the way, Elon Omar is calling it racist. By the way,
Oh, yeah, right.
yeah, okay.
I'll tell you, the Democrats are really off the reservation altogether. This is not an American party. This is a foreign party of some kind or other. Speaking of which, let's do a couple stories on international. I mean, Germany is canceling Christmas because of they can't protect the people from Islamic violence during the Christmas season, if in fact Christmas is celebrated. So Germany, which is deindustrializing, is now also becoming less Christian, giving in to Islam. The entire continent is dominated by Islam, and there's a story out now circulating that the real reason for supporting Ukraine, another $350 billion defense bill for the EU, is to prop up the EU. And they think if they can have this huge expenditure, even though they don't have the money, it'll be all deficit spending. The World International Monetary Fund or someone will give the Europeans all this money to spend, and they'll spend it. They'll prop up their economies for a while. But the problem is that they don't have any real fundamental economy once they undermine their energy dependence. Now their energy dependence is on, they've eliminated atomic energy, nuclear power in Germany, and Germany is deindustrializing. So, of course, Islam's on the rise. And you find it also in Italy, which is reporting something like 40% of all sexual crimes and 60% of all property crimes are created by foreigners. Well, that didn't have to be. Again, Europe self-destructed. Europe self-destructed by opening its doors to Islam, by importing all of these people from crossing the Mediterranean. And so Europe is now moving in a decidedly anti-Christian direction. And what we're seeing is Christianity under attack worldwide. This is really biblical. It's really something that was mentioned in the book of Revelation, that Christianity in the end days would be under severe attack, and it is under severe attack. Okay, now today I'm going to kind of running out of time today, and I'm going to do a couple more stories. One is that gold is over $4,000 an ounce again today, $4,031 an ounce, and silver's almost at $49 an ounce. And the point I'm making is go to Swiss America on our homepage and take a look at this Walking Liberty $50 offer. One time only for new customers. Fill out the form, talk to Swiss America, the consultative selling. And even if you can't afford gold, an ounce of gold, you can buy grams of gold, and you can also buy an ounce of silver because it's a lot less expensive. And this Walking Liberty $50 offer will get you coins that will increase in value, where the rest of your money will deteriorate in its purchasing power. Call Swiss America, get a free copy of this book, How the Coming Global Crash Will Create an Historic Gold Rush. I wrote it with Dean Heskin, who heads Swiss America. All you have to do is call the toll-free number, 1-800-519-6268. 1-800-519-6268, and ask for a copy of the free book. It'll be sent to you. The rest of the stories that I'm seeing covered today are pretty much mundane and, pretty much what we'd expect. Africa is in turmoil. We are, the crises in the world that are not yet resolved, including Ukraine, where it looks like Russia is going to take this major city, holding a path to Kiev that is part of Donbass, territory Russia wants because it's Russian speaking in the eastern provinces. These are major developments in terms of, the idea that Russia is just not going to stop in place and the war and the shooting not happening right away. So what we're finding around the world is that the chaos is continuing, even though Donald Trump has made major strides in bringing peace. I think the next one is going to have to be Ukraine. And I think that's going to happen if we just quit funding Ukraine. The EU won't be able to do it for long, and Zelensky will not be able to be successful because they'll run out of money too. They'll run out of troops and they'll run out of weapons. And if we don't supply them, the EU is going to have a hard time supplying it by themselves. I want to end by saying our cities are getting less and less safe. So now I'm seeing these stab vests coming into vogue, where people wear these vests where you can't stab them because it deters the knife. So at any rate, all the economics that are pointing to pressure on the middle class that's extreme. And, family violence against seniors in Canada is now at record highs. People are disgusted in general with their economic condition and wanting a change for the positive and for prosperity. We're going to cut it a little bit short today because I've got a time pressure, but these are the main things I wanted to cover. The main thing I want you to know is that there is going to be another executive order on elections, and it's forthcoming. It's Dr. Jerome Corsi. Today, it's Thursday. It's November 6th. In the end, God always wins. God's going to win here too. In the spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14, join me in getting on our knees and asking God to forgive us for letting the world get to this point. If we do so, God will hear our prayer and heal our land. This is Dr. Jerome Corsi. Thank you for joining us. Doing podcasts on CorsiNation.com every weekday. We'll be back tomorrow. God bless.